I encourage everyone to take a moment and breathe and take a tea cheers with a Jiri tea. A Jiri tea recognizes the beauty in shared stories and shared opportunities. Ajiri sources award-winning tea from Kenya, employs women in the region to handcraft the labels, and sends 100% of the profits back to the region to support orphan education. Save 10% on your order of Kenyan teas and coffee with the code BeautifullyHuman at ajiritea.com. AJIRIT.com. Tea mugs up. Hello and welcome to the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby. In this podcast, I speak with beautiful humans from all around the world, sharing with you their incredible stories, revealing the power in every human story, to spread love and humanity to a world that is in desperate need of it, to show that we can all connect in beautiful ways, no matter where we come from or what we look like. What you will find out is that we are all beautifully human. Let's all be beautifully human. All right, here we are again, another episode of the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby, and today I am speaking with a longtime friend of mine from childhood, Tiffany Roberts. Man, we talk about life and some losses and just some really, really amazing moments that have brought us to be super close friends. So I really hope you enjoy this one. This was a fun one to record. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Instagram at the Beautifully Human Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. And again, most of all, enjoy this beautiful conversation. So, start us off by telling us about your life, T.
Oh boy, that's a big question. My current life, my former life, my
life leading up to now. So from the beginning,
that's
as
a
much
big.
as you want to tell. Yeah,
Okay. So, am I allowed to talk like we're friends, right? We know each other?
totally.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'll just say it. I've known Tiffany for a very, very long time. She's one of my closest friends. So I'm very excited to learn more about T's life that I don't know.
which may be nothing.
Could be.
We'll find out,
We'll
right?
see. Yeah.
So I grew up in a small town, same as yours, in Ashland, Ohio. A pretty traditional family, I would say. Two older sisters, a younger brother, and so just normal life, pretty conservative family. When I was 8, my brother was born with half a heart, so he has something called hypoplastic left heart. And when he was 6, he passed away. So that's kind of been an underlining thing, I think, in my whole life is kind of the effects of losing a family member, a younger sibling really young. And the older I get, I realize how woven that is into my being. So we grew up, my family, my mom and dad stayed together. They were really great parents, honestly. Two sisters. We had fun. The middle sister and I really didn't like each other a lot. The oldest sister was like the cool one, everybody loved her. So went through high school, everything in Ashland. And then, similar to you, I had a love for video. So I went to college in Indiana where I went on scholarship, right? $250 scholarship
Nice.
for cheerleading and majored in film. And so I spent 4 years in Indiana and a semester of that in Los Angeles, which was like, I still say that was one of the best times in my life. I love that so much. And I interned with Tyra Banks. Did a ton of touristy stuff, right? Like go on the Ellen Show, Jay Leno, put your hands on the little hands or whatever, the stars. So LA was awesome. Went back to Indiana, didn't get a job I liked, came back to A Town, holla. And I said, I am never living in that town ever. And I met who became my husband. He went to AU. I'm like, yeah, he's cool, whatever. Like, I'm not getting married, not interested. Um, so I moved to Kansas once we had met and worked at a college out there and realized when I was out there, okay, maybe this guy is kind of legit. So I left that school, came back, worked at Mount Vernon Nazarene University for a very short period of time. And then I came up to AU. Oh my goodness, how crazy, right? We got married October 22nd, and I started like November 2nd at AU. Spent some time there, went to the Ashland YMCA and became a director, which is funny because my dad was the CEO at the Y my whole life. And I said, I will never, ever go to that place. And I went and ran the gymnastics program, which is the program I grew up in. So I still remember standing on the floor, like the gymnastics floor, and I'm standing there. And the last time I stood there was my last gymnastics meet in my whole career. We would hold hands and whatever. And so I'm standing there and I just start crying in front of all these parents, all these kids. And I think people are probably like, what is wrong with this lady? But I just stood there kind of in awe. Like, how did I get here? How did this happen? The full circle of I used to be those kids and now I'm like their coach, influencer. I don't know. It was so weird. So in the midst of all of that, we had our first daughter, Adeline, who's 5, and then we had our second daughter, Luciana. And so, like 18 months ago, I decided to stay home as the mama. And I have like this problem. I have lots of problems, let's be honest, but um, I just can't be still. Like, I don't even care about money. Like, I just always have to be busy. My grandma, who just passed away last week, always worried about me. She's like, you just have to chill out. And she was like a busy working, like I'm similar to her, I think. But so now I'm home as a stay-at-home mom, but I do photography freelance. I work at the Samaritan Hospital Foundation 1-ish days a week, and then I'm a health coach. So I'm busy. My body is present in my home with my children. I can't tell you how present my mind is, which is kind of a thing. But yeah, so that's kind of my life story right there.
And it's pretty cool. It's kind of like what I'm working on doing with this podcast is just showing just how beautiful life is and how beautiful humans are. That this coaching, like you just posted a photo today that was unbelievable, like
Mm-hmm.
transformations of these people, like, and I just love, I see your heart for that, of just being there for people. And I think that's such a cool way to go about that, because where we come from, I didn't know anything about like healthy eating as a kid. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like something that was like pushed out, at least to me.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that you found your way into doing that.
Yeah. It was not something that I really cared about until I met Kurt. I remember this is a great story if I can share it. A.G. Kruger is an Olympian, right? And so the first time I meet him, I'm like, oh, it's really nice to meet you, all nervous. So Kurt wanted me to work out with him at AU with all the athletes. Like, I had been on an elliptical once to like talk to boys on the phone. You know what I mean? Like, I was not an athlete. Well, kind of an athlete, just not into fitness. And so AG, this Olympian, comes out. He's like, okay, you need to come in. It's time to do this. And so kind of the influence of Kurt, my husband, it has become this like massive lifestyle for us and our family. Even like our daughter, the 5-year-old Addie, she works out all the time. Like, girls got abs, but it's a lifestyle. Like, she's not in sport. She's not. it's not like something we're pushing. You know what I mean? It's just she's used to us being active. And so that's fun to her, like doing burpees and squats. And she knows what carbs are. And now, mommy, I have to have a protein for breakfast before I can have something else. Like she's very aware, which I think can also probably be a bad thing. So we're trying to maintain balance so she has like a healthy perspective. But my kids are aware. Lucy, the little one, she just eats what she wants, but you can tell.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool though. And to touch on it, just as how old? Because I was trying to remember this too when I was thinking about it today. How old were you when Ben passed?
I was 8, so we were 2 years apart. And I remember it's crazy because, okay, so like he was sick, right? He was born, he was sick. But it wasn't like he was at death's door. Like he had had open heart surgeries and, but he wasn't actively sick. And so the day before he died, we went to church like up the street. And so he got in his little power wheel and just took off, like without my mom. And so she chased him the whole way there with heels on. Like I remember he was just like living his most active, best life. And it was that morning, like I woke up, he had one of those like little potties um, in the bathroom. And I said, like, bye, Ben, I love you. Like he was at home and fine, like no scheduled surgeries, nothing was really actively going on with his health. And so, like, it was very unexpected, I guess, that he died. And the autopsy never really showed um, what happened, I guess.
Hmm.
Obviously, he had a heart disorder that was very serious, but we have minor heart issues in our family, and we think that he probably had one of those that we didn't know about, and his little heart just didn't take it. Um, so it's really interesting. You like kind of were prepared for it, but not at all at the same time. I reconnected with a friend that was she was in the class when my family came to get us to tell us that he had died. So we're 35, right? And she's like, I still remember that day. She's like, just like it was yesterday when the teacher came back in, she was crying, like she she was shook, and she had never told me that story. That had been almost 30 years, you know, previous. And this girl had been affected by my brother dying like 30 years before. So it's crazy the impact or even things that happen that you would never even know. Like if I never talked to her in my adult life, I would never know that she was impacted by that day too. So
Right.
that was an interesting thing that just came up recently.
Huh. Yeah, because I remember I was trying to think about it because it pops into my head every once in a while, and I was very young as well, so I was probably um, a year
Eight
older
or
than you.
nine. Yeah.
So I was like 8 or 9, and I just remember the last thing I remember was like we gave him some sort of like basketball hoop. I don't
Oh,
remember. Dad had some like extra basketball hoop, and we had taken it down there for Ben. It was like one of the smaller
oh,
ones that I think we
yeah.
had in the basement. And that was my last memory, and it's been a long time too. But I just remember because we spent so much time growing up together. We were
Mm-hmm.
just always down at your house, or we were just always together. So that was one I was going to ask you and see if you wanted to share on that, because I just it's been a very long time, and I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't remember the exact details of all that.
Yeah. It was, like I said, kind of unexpected. You don't,
Yeah.
it wasn't out of the blue that, something would happen, but he wasn't in the hospital or something. And like he woke up in the morning, moved from his bed, used the potty. My dad would always put him in their bed. Um, my dad went to work. Mom came out, after a shower and he was gone. So it's
Oh
like,
man.
that's so unexpected. Um, so it's been interesting to see as adults how his death has affected myself and my sisters and my parents, and now being a parent, I give so much credit to my mom and dad because it's
Yeah.
like losing a child has got to be the worst. I mean, I can't I can't imagine that. So, especially when they're young, like
Right.
he was 6, like still little. He was kind of like a little baby still, like he was so
Right.
small because of his
Yeah.
heart disorder and his big belly, like he looked
Yep. Yep.
pregnant. And so, I don't know, but they kept it together and were really great parents. So, I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Have you, when you've spoken to like Misty and Brittany, like how do you guys talk about it when you talk about it?
It depends on who it is. So I would say Brittany she's more emotional about it. I think everybody just grieves so differently, and grief is something
Sure.
I've really tried to reflect on a lot lately because it's happening all the time. So honestly, we don't talk about him a ton, which kind of makes me feel bad, right? But it's usually in high emotional states where it comes up, like with my grandma just passing. It's all about
Right.
like, okay, grandma's in heaven with her husband, and she lost a child as well when she was 2.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and then my brother. And so it's like the idea of all of them together. So we talk about it a lot more when it's a higher emotional situation, I would say. Um, Misty's a little quieter with her emotions and stuff, but we process a lot, I would say, like through our Bible study and youth group and stuff through middle school and high school. Um, but yeah, it's like 29 years ago. It's
Yeah.
almost, or is it that long? No, it can't be that long. He was 6. I'm bad at math. It's been a long time.
It's
So
27 years.
yeah,
Because
so
if you were
that's
8, you're yeah, 27 years.
a long time.
That was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Um, and then, it's just funny, like, well, not funny. It's a terrible transition out of that story.
it's
But
fine.
I was just thinking of our childhood and just the amount of, that was such a good neighborhood to grow up in.
So
It
good.
was so fun. We just had, I mean, the amount of ridiculousness that was going on there was like, you mentioned gymnastics and like the blue mat and the little trampoline out in your
Mm-hmm.
front yard,
Yep.
like pushing your bike over,
That's not
like
acceptable.
well, I mean, in my younger ways, that was me obviously flirting with you.
Yes, it was very cute.
I was totally was. But man, it was just so funny, like to think back at like how long ago that was, and then like we've had this friendship for so long
Mm-hmm.
that started off with just these little gymnastics routines and calling you to go swimming, trying to be like, what are you up to in the summertime? Because it's kind of warm outside, and you're like, I think we're gonna swim.
Me too, I'm coming over.
Yeah,
The
great.
best part, well, not the best part, but like the roller hockey, like I
Oh
was a
man.
straight up tomboy, right? Like I'm not girly now, but just weird to think like how you did gymnastics because that's what we like to do, right? And we played roller hockey because you like to do it, like it's
Yeah.
pretty cool how we just kind of did whatever and played a lot of kick the can.
Yes,
Oh
so much
gosh.
until we kicked it too hard. Someone kicked it too hard and
Yep,
cut someone's head open.
sure did.
Then it was like a plastic jug more than that.
Yeah, not as cool. Definitely not as
Totally
cool.
not as cool. Yeah, I also remember breaking Misty's foot when she played tackle football with us
Oh
one time.
gosh. Her
I think
bones
I
are
broke it
very
or
brittle.
something. It was really, uh, and I was already horrified of your father, and
Yes,
so like when I
terrifying.
broke someone's, one of his daughters, one of his, yeah, daughter's feet, I was pretty shocked, and like thinking about all the butt marks I put on his van.
Yes, that was very bad. Oh, he was
Oh
so
my,
mean to you guys. Like you were good kids, you know what I mean? Like I would give anything for my kids to be surrounded with the same type of environment that we were. Like we didn't get into bad trouble, although that one time we ordered pizza, was like a thing. You weren't part of that though, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, but like
That
innocent fun, right? Just
totally.
it was awesome.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I hadn't thought about like I saw something hanging from a tree and I was like, man, remember toilet papering? And then like it came up, Lindsay was talking about someone toilet or ordering a pizza for someone and I was like, oh man, we did that so often and we were so like we're just always getting caught. We
For
never.
sure. Hmm.
I remember you guys staying behind a car and we were walking back and your dad just like opening the front door and you're just like trying to hide back there.
Yeah, my
It
dad,
was so good.
he was kind of tough. Like I don't remember him that way because he's so soft now, but like it's pretty mean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a fine relationship now, but man, I was pretty terrified of
Yeah, he was mean. I can't even tell half the stories about my dad and
it.
boys. We'll
Yeah.
stop there.
All right. So you had talked about to your time in LA.
Hmm.
So you were out there. What was your internship like out there? Or what were you doing out there?
So the school I went to had basically a semester program in Los Angeles. So all of the NAIA schools, which are like Christian colleges, could come to this one school for a semester. I think it was called Best Semester, literally is what it was called, which is kind of funny. But so there, nobody else was there from my home college, but there were people from like every state. So we all went out and we were in school still. So my internship was with Tyra Banks back when she had a regular talk show, the Tyra Banks show. And so the internship was great. They shuffled us through all of the different departments. So my favorite was audience. They put me in the audience a lot of times. A girl from high school messaged me once, "Hey, I saw you on the Tyra Banks show. It was like some family dispute about lesbians." I was like, "Yeah, I work there. Like it wasn't a show I like chose specifically to go to." Also, this is so good. So Tyra, I should not share this, but I'm going to. Tyra wanted to break like the world record for the largest panty party, like bra and underwear, like underwear party. So I get all my friends to do this. We're all from these like conservative Christian schools, right? So we get front row, like front and center in our bras, like some of them in like little nighties. I got back to Huntington, realized that they could have kicked me out because we were on national television, like half naked. And I get back, and these freshman guys that I had never even seen, they're like, "Oh, yeah, hey, girl, we saw you on Tyra." I was like, "I will kill somebody." And like the white kid videotaped it and showed it to his whole floor, which I mean,
What?
I should have suspected,
Yeah.
right? Like, come on. But I was like, "Okay, nice to meet you all." I am very ashamed of myself. So, but do you remember the Miller Lite guy? His name was Wendell Middleton, big black guy. He
I
did
think
the
so, yeah.
Miller Lite commercials. He'd
Yes,
come
yes, yes,
in and
yeah.
be like, $12.99 for a cheeseburger, like that guy, which sadly he died of a heart attack.
Oh wow.
Maybe it wasn't a heart attack. I could be speaking out of turn, but died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He went to the same film school years back and got his start there, kind of. And so we casted our own movies, and he was in one of my movies, and he was like the coolest. Like he was a big name at that point, but
Yeah.
he's like, the story sounded cool. It was awful. But he's like, "I'll do it, like support you, help you out." So he was a really cool guy. Like lots of celebrity encounters, of course, in LA. And I thought I was so cool. Like my roommates, once I got back to Huntington, were like, "Please, you're annoying. Just stop talking about it. Like nobody cares." and I was rocking skinny jeans, right? This is 2000 and what was it? 2006 and 7. And I had skinny jeans. Like, remember when the big belts were cool?
Oh
Like
yeah.
the bigger flowy shirts. Like I had really come into my fashion, I thought, and it was cool, right? But in like cornfields of Indiana, I was not cool.
Right.
And one of my roommates, like probably 4 years later, sends me a message, and they always called me Cider. She said, "Hey, Cider, I just had to let you know I'm wearing skinny jeans." I was like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And now side part and skinny jeans means you're old. So I'm old, whatever.
Yeah. Me
Brought the
too.
trend to
Yep.
Indiana.
Blazing the trends through there.
Yes, I
That's
need to go
amazing.
back to LA. Not sure what I would come back in, but yeah.
Yeah, probably similar, I would imagine.
I know, right? It'll come back.
Yeah. It reminds me of a funny story. I was when I was working in New York. I was talking to this kid whose sister lived in Seattle. It was one event I was working, and he was just like, we were just sitting there talking, and he was like, "Yeah, man, my sister always says like, whatever happens in Seattle becomes the trend for the rest of the country." And then he was like kind of degrading in what he was saying, and he's like, everyone's just wearing like all black and like Doc Martens and this and that. And then he looks over at me, and I was just like, to the T, exactly what he said. And I was like, I mean, I was in Seattle not too long ago, but I didn't think I picked it up. But it
Oh,
made me
that's
laugh.
like your signature. You
Yeah,
actually must have started
I
that,
think
I
so.
think.
I'll take credit
I
for it.
think so. Tell
Um,
that jerk kid you
yeah, I'll
started the
go find it.
trend.
I'll go find him. Um, but I will. When you went out to LA, that was at the time when like I was like hell bent on getting out to LA. It was like what I wanted to do, and I still have never lived out there. So I was thinking about that too, and I was like, you actually went, which was super awesome. So to me, I was like, you're living in Los Angeles? Oh my god! Like I gotta go. I gotta do that, and I still never did.
I don't know if you would love LA. Like you've been there, right? But it's like not, I don't think it's you. I don't think that would be your best fit
Yeah,
based
and
on how it was years ago.
I mean, since I've been going there frequently until this year, I learned that, and that's why I never ended up being there, because I thought because of my career or what I wanted to do
Right.
that I needed to be
Yeah.
there, and I never needed to be there. So, but at that time, I was just like,
Oh, for
I'm going
sure.
to LA. It was like every kid's dream, like going out to
You should have
California.
come.
I know.
Well, I got a job offer from the Tyra Banks show. They wanted me to stay on, like a great package, but I went my junior year in hopes to have my senior year on campus. So basically, if I dropped out of college, I could have stayed for the job. I'm like, man, that didn't seem responsible. And I'm like a very type A, make a good decision kind of personality, which I'm glad because she moved to New York that next season and then got canceled.
Ooh.
So it's like, you know what I mean? I would have moved there for that and something would have worked out. But I went back out there after college. So I had like a semester and a half, or no, I guess 3 semesters that I did after LA. And when I went back, I just did not love it anymore.
Yeah.
I think I was in such a bubble of people just like me, which is also probably one of my downfalls. But I, it was not actually like that. The bubble was gone. I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. And here I am in my hometown. Oh, shoot. Whatever.
Well, I mean, I will say when I came back, which is now 2.5 years ago, I
That's
might
so long.
it's gonna get I'm gonna get emotional, so get ready for it.
Don't do it.
I have to. I have to. When I had to be when I just had to get myself healthy, it was really incredible. Tiffany was one person that I still to this day say was one of the biggest people that got me to where I am today, because just she just knew I needed to get healthy and was like, I don't have any experience with the other stuff that you're going through, but like I know you need to get yourself healthy. So she got me to come into the Y and was just like, there's this really awesome spin instructor that gives pretty awesome spin classes that you could check out. And then she, helped whip my ass into shape, which I definitely needed. And I tell this to so many people, like when I talk about my sobriety and my journey, like I tell people constantly that one of the biggest helps in my life and like one of the most empowering people in my life was you, because you didn't look at me like this idiot that just like almost ruined his life. You just saw me as a person and you just loved me unconditionally and like said, I know you need to get yourself healthy and then this is what I have to offer you. So from the bottom of my heart, like I've known you so long and I've always considered you a super close friend, but like I love you so much for that. So thank you for that empowerment. It's to constantly think of that.
I am as much grateful for that experience as, yeah, like I don't know. I don't believe in consequences, right? So that whole situation, like I heard about it, like I hadn't seen you. How long had it been since we talked? I mean,
It's been a while, yeah.
Well, you came over for New Year's Eve. Was
Oh,
that like
right.
the year before? Maybe?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I didn't know. I almost, I, you can't live in regret, but it's like, I didn't know where you were at. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, could I have done something earlier? I don't know. But like, I still remember the day that you came in with your mom. I was like, oh, dang. Like, okay, let's do this. And the only reason I asked you to do cycling was because Jake was there.
Right.
And I'm like, and you were like, you kicked his little booty. And I will say, I told so many people, like, okay, you hadn't worked out in how many
Oh
years? Like,
God. A very long time.
years.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't
And
done anything.
you were like really not in a great place. And you just came in there and just like worked out like you were an athlete. Like it was the weirdest. And every time you were like that, right? Like you got in the pool and you're swimming a mile or, just the athlete inside your body is insane. So someday you might use that,
Yeah, maybe.
that would be sweet.
Yeah.
Probably for the masters when you're 65 or older or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a point in my life where, I was literally living every day not to die, which is a crazy way to do it, but like I just didn't, obviously like until you're in that situation you don't know what that situation looks like or what you have to do to get out of it, but what they told me was never drink again, start to eat better and get yourself into shape. So I'm always very thankful for that, and then we'd always get to chat, and so like we got to connect in a massive way, and I still do. I like I said, I tell everybody like how crucial that was to me, just to be seen as a human, like you just saw me as your friend from a long time ago that you hadn't seen in a while, and you just like poured that love into me and just truly turned my life into a beautiful direction. So constantly thankful for that.
Me too. And those old people love you and your Bin Laden tattoo.
Yeah, they were
It's not really that.
very curious about my tattoos. That was so funny every time.
Oh, they're sweet.
So sweet. Such sweet woman. Well, what is this one? Then I loved it. Well, if I was your age, I don't know if I'd get a tattoo. I was like, I mean, yeah, I'd come back now with my hand and they'd be like, I think they'd lose
Don't
their
you
mind.
also love like how non-judgmental they were? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have been like that with everybody or just because they knew how much I loved you. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to tell, but they just kind of
Yeah.
opened their arms and were like, let's do this. Like,
Yeah, it
You're
was pretty
awesome.
cool. And the one guy in the class, what was his name?
Mick. Mick.
Yeah, I
It's my
opened up
dude.
to him a little bit, and then he opened back up to me, which was really cool because like I
Hmm.
didn't look very good at the time either. Like I looked like I was,
You looked good pretty fast. I mean, it seemed like you started looking better quickly,
yeah.
but maybe not.
I mean, well, until this summer when I sent you that photo, and then you put the three
Yes.
side by side, I was just like, oh wow,
Yeah. Insane.
it's
How
crazy.
about that transformation, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's awesome. And you're all good.
Yeah, yeah. So far, so good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all right. So I like to ask this to everybody on this, and you've traveled too, so this will be a fun one to ask. If
Ooh.
obviously COVID restrictions aside, you can go wherever. If I came to you and I said, "Here's a plane ticket to anywhere in the world," where are you gonna go to?
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is so weird. I did a lot of mission trips when I was in college, and I loved them all, but I really connected with a lot of the kids in Haiti. Um, and so I think I would go back to Haiti. It was, I realized through that time in my life, and maybe that's part of like why I felt so good when I was like loving on you, right? Like I always feel so much better about myself when I'm not worried about myself and I'm thinking about other people. So I do that with my kids, but it is interesting to see as I've aged, like my anxiety comes more often, my fear, my stress, all these things. And when I just lived in the moment where I was not focused on myself and other people, I just always felt so good. Um, so I would go back to Haiti and see if I could find some of those kids. Like I have journaling that I did, ton of journaling about them. Like I don't need a vacation, right? Like my life's fine. I don't, I'm not as adventurous as I used to be. So like COVID has made me like, oh no, I'm good. Like I'll just sit in my house, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, so as odd as that can be, I would go to Haiti, which is like a weird thing, but
I don't think that
yeah,
one's weird. I would love to go to Haiti. I've never been, but I would definitely go. I would go to Haiti.
it's pretty humbling. I don't know. So
See, I mean, I don't think. I mean, anyone can say anything. I've heard a ton of different answers at this point. And yeah, I don't think that. I don't think anywhere's weird because you could say I want to go to Siberia, and I'd be like, I'd go. I read a book about it this summer, and it was
sounds
super
great.
interesting. But Haiti, I think it would be super cool. Do you have any contact with anyone that you worked with from Haiti?
Um, so there was one, he was a teenager. His name was Bernard, and we stayed connected for many years, but I've not talked to him for a while. And then one of the missionaries, I am friends with him on Facebook, but they just retired and moved back. As weird as it is, they live in Lexington, Ohio,
Oh wow,
right?
huh?
So I would say I'm not, but how about this story? I went to like a concert, a Christian concert. What's it called? Winterfest.
Mm-hmm.
It's real big. And Compassion International is this like Christian company that you can sponsor kids. And one of the girls from the orphanage that I met, her name was Lovely, um, in Haiti, was one of the kids to sponsor. I mean, there had to have been hundreds of them, and I picked up hers. So we sponsored Lovely. And it's like in Haiti, in the orphanage, once they get to a certain age, like in my understanding of it, they kind of like transition them out of the orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing at this point, those kids are much older. But I don't know. Bernard is near my age, I would say.
Okay.
So like in his 30s. So not really any direct contact. Here comes Addie home from school.
Hey,
Remember
Addie.
Nick? Yeah.
Oh,
She's
that's your
got an
cat.
icy. This is good.
That's awesome. I
To
like your
take that into the
earrings.
table, okay? How about the Wonder Woman mask?
That's pretty rad too.
Just sit at the table.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's sweet.
All right, I got 2 more questions for you.
Let's do it.
What would you want the world to know about you?
Oh boy. What do I actually want them to know, or what do I actually let them know? That's bad. I would want them to know. So I keep talking about my grandma who just passed away because that's like raw, right? So we talk to tons of people, and I would love to have the legacy in some ways. Like, I know I'm not asking like, what do you want people to say when you die? But it's kind of that thought, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you leaving behind? So obviously through conversation, I guess I haven't said it directly, like, I love Jesus. And so I want people to know like where I stand in my faith. I know that you talked about like me seeing you as a person and being compassionate and kind and just loving you. I would say that's my best self. So I would love to be able to offer that to every person. I don't, because I'm like not perfect,
Right.
but I would love to be my best self all the time, which would be being kind and compassionate and caring. Um, I want people to know that I just love helping others. Like, a good friend, a mutual friend was diagnosed with cancer recently, and it's like, I would, I just love to help people. So having the opportunity, whether it's just like be to make them a meal or something, I want people to know that they're loved and that people care and want to support them. So on my best days, I think that's what I offer to people. And I offer that to people that I like, not always. I also, people will know that I like love to gossip. I don't need people to know that, but that's like my downfall. So yeah, I just want people to know that I love Jesus, and like trying to raise up kids who are the same way, that are just kind. Like, Addie is here with me, and she draws pictures and like walks it over to the neighbors and just gives it to them to make them smile. Like, she has such a um, kind, intentional heart. She
Yeah.
just sees greatness in people. And we put her in a preschool that has students that are on IEPs and then students that are not. And it's really cool to see. She doesn't even recognize their differences. She just says, oh, so and so is really good at XYZ, like something different than maybe what she's good at. But just kind of trying to raise up kids with that same foundation of just being kind and loving people, seeing them, like you said, just like seeing them as a person, not
Yeah.
their faults, or, like, I would like to believe I'm pretty self-aware, and I know what I struggle with and what I'm bad at. That doesn't mean I fix it all the time, but like just having awareness and just being a good person.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, I I fully know that. I've known, like I said, I've known you for a long time, but when I needed someone, a very, very close friend in my literally the darkest part of my life, you were one of the best people in my life at that point when I truly needed it. So I can fully say that you 100% do that. And I'm not saying you're perfect, because none of us are, but I can attest for how amazing and wonderful that you are. Um, and then, if you had the ear of everybody in the world, what would you say to them?
Oh, kind of that same thing. Just that they're loved. Let me speak to them like they're real people. Maybe they are listening. Um, I've had bad times too. And not that anybody wants you to compare yourself to them, um, but bad times get better. And if you just really focus on wherever you're trying to get. Like, you're a great testimony to that, Nick, that if you know where you want to go and you have yourself surrounded with the right people, like, they're going to help you get there. So lean on others, because at some point you're going to have the strength to let others lean on you as well. So just be honest with yourself. I think that's a huge thing. We all want to have this like Instagram perfect life kind of thing. That's like, that's not true. So we're always overly honest, right? Because I feel like people can grow and learn from other people's mistakes, or from us being vulnerable. Like, we led a parenting group. We were just to a fault probably honest about how many bad decisions we've made as parents, but like, that helped other people get better.
Absolutely.
So if you want to be like somebody really great, surround yourself with people who are great and really dig down. People do care. Get yourself out of situations that you shouldn't be in. I know with a previous job, like, I finally realized I am a worse person because of this place. So I had to take myself out of it because I didn't like who I was becoming. So I think just being honest with yourself is the best place to start. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be honest with?
Yep.
Nobody.
That is so true.
Yeah. So yeah, people love you. I love you. Everybody.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah. Well, and I just thought of this as you were saying all that, like, when you were saying that you didn't really know me well when I was in my worst times, and I know you would have been there for me, but at that time, like, when it happened and then you presented yourself in my life, that was when I like absolutely had to have you. So I can attest to that, of like, if you're struggling, like, open yourself up, and like, if you're in the struggle and you aren't able to be honest with yourself yet, like, just keep working. You'll get there. And when you do, you'll find really incredible humans and friends and loved ones like Tiffany that will be there for you.
Hopefully, right?
Yes.
And if not, you can call me. I love to help people.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. This has been super fun.
So fun.
It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, so this was a good excuse to hang. Thank you for listening to the Beautifully Human podcast. To hear more beautiful stories from beautiful humans, follow us on Spotify and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at the Beautifully Human Podcast. Peace signs up.